Is it actually going to happen? Are the Kansas City Chiefs actually going to miss the playoffs? Kind of seems like it. Let's break it down. We could be having a seismic shift in the National Football League as it does appear that the Kansas City Chiefs' hopes of making the playoffs have faded away after a disappointing loss on Sunday Night Football against the Houston Texans. And we just keep waiting for it to work, keep waiting for it to work, keep waiting for it to work, and it keeps not working. And something where that magic was last year, it is whatever deal they made with the devil has expired because now they are losing these tight games and they are the one. This is where the concern comes in, I think, for the Chiefs. They are the ones now who are making the mistakes. They are the ones who are making those late game screw ups that allow the other teams to get the wins. And that wasn't happening. Remember last year when it was the Raiders somehow screwed up like 8 different times. I think was it the Black Friday game? It was one of the, it was like a Christmassy Saturday. It wasn't a regularly scheduled football game. And the Raiders just botched every single way you could possibly screw up a game. They managed to do that. And the Chiefs were able to get it. And that was always kind of my justification around all of it was Kansas City knows how to win. And they just don't make those sorts of mistakes. But now they are. It's going for it on 4th and 1 when it feels like you kind of have them stuck. Like the Texans aren't going to do anything else. So if you punt the ball to them, now they can march it down. And I understand, like there's some hypocrisy for me with that because I am a big go for it on 4th down guy. But as with a lot of things, it's not just one or the other. There are times where it makes sense to go for it on 4th and 1. I think most times. But there are some game situations where it's like, yeah, take it. Go. Let's see if you can do it again. And the Chiefs screw that up. It's Travis Kelce being now unreliable and not being able to handle that pass, leading to an interception that really seals the game away. It is the Chiefs now who are making those screw-ups. And when you have a roster like they do, with the issues they have on the offensive line, with the pass catchers who just can't get open now, your margin for error just gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And you need... It's weird because this is a really good Mahomes season. I think Mahomes has been excellent. But he needs a little bit of help. And it ain't coming. It's not there. So they're going to have to really reassess where they are at roster-wise. Because I think when you look at, okay, we can kind of punt on receiver, we'll draft a couple fast kids and it'll be fine. Obviously, like that got them to a couple of Super Bowls. But the issue is Travis Kelce is not what Travis Kelce was. And like he has had some big moments, but he's had some rough ones too. And when you don't have that reliable target, that was kind of the basis for a lot of these things. And then running back, they're kind of over on hitting on guy like Hunt was big, but Pacheco hasn't necessarily bounced back in the way that I thought he would. I still think Rice is a really good receiver. I still think Worthy is a pretty good receiver. And I wonder with a full season with those guys, what this offense looks like. But it is obvious they have to address the issues on the offensive line. And they probably need another game breaker on the offensive side because Kelsey's kind of fading away. And honestly, like, it feels weird because Kelce, I'm overreacting to one game. But Kelce has had some not great moments this season. The last couple of seasons, really. Like, he obviously has slowed down. And, like, just that juggle and everything like that. You wonder if maybe more Noah Gray need to be worked into, or other tight end, right? Like, just find something to get this offense going, because it's just not. And again, they're facing a really tough schedule. Like, they have, I'm not making excuses for them, but they have faced, like, this is a really good Texans team that still has a chance to win the division, and should be what a lot of the focus is on, but it's not. But they have a real opportunity, I think, to make some noise. So if they were losing games like this to the Raiders and to the Dolphins and the Jets, then that's concerning. They're losing to playoff teams basically every week, but it's just, these were the teams that they beat. Like, they're going to Super Bowls. So the opposition shouldn't matter to you, but it does now for them. It feels done, right? Like, they are 2 games back with, what is it now, 4 games remaining? So Yeah, like there's obviously we're going to talk about it in a sec here. Uncle Crashy bringing up the Indianapolis Colts. There is a very realistic possibility the Colts fall out of this thing, but still like making up that amount of ground in this short of time with also a Ravens team who we'll talk about in a second still kind of hanging out there. There's it. It felt last year like the Bills weren't going to make it. Now it feels like the Chiefs aren't going to make it. Now the Bills made a miraculous comeback and were able to get on through to the postseason. I just don't. This needed to be it for Kansas City, and it wasn't for them. So it feels very done this season for the Chiefs, and now I'm fascinated to see how they respond. The Baltimore Ravens also potentially in the done category as they lose to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now that game more competitive. I think they should have won. I guess we'll just jump right in. I don't understand how that likely catch wasn't a touchdown at the end of the game. And this guy, like, holy shit, talking about all the different things that he has been through in these types. Like, how many different times have we said, oh, I don't get how Likely didn't finish that one play with the foot on the back of the goal line last year, and this one here and a couple of others as well. But like, he has it, he takes two steps, like it's a catch, it is 2 feet in bounds. Like, how do you not, how is that not a catch? It feels like we have one of these a year. Like he catches it, it's in the end zone. Like, you just have to cross. If he does that same thing, but it's on like he does the quarterback sneak tush push thing and reaches into the end zone, it feels like they give it to him, right? Like he has possession, it gets across the goal line. Boom, that's a touchdown. So I genuinely don't understand how that one goes against the Ravens, but for sure don't leave it to one big play late in the game against the Steelers team that's felt cooked for a couple of weeks too. So like they should have won this game, but they had a lot of opportunities to win it as the day went on. And like, Lamar is obviously still banged up. And again, they just don't have the guys making the plays for their quarterback when he needs the help. It is great to have Superman, but sometimes you do need also Batman to come in and help out, right? As we just really drive this metaphor into the ground. But you do need that other guy to step up and help you out. It can't just be a one-man show. And like for Lamar, the one-man show thing, I get Derrick Henry was a big part of it last year, but like the one-man show with Lamar got them to within a fumble trying to get into the end zone of going to the Super Bowl a couple of years ago. But all of this roster construction with limited wide receivers and really banking on running backs and tight ends, that's great when the dude is balling. But there are going to be moments where he's going to need help. And Mahomes hasn't had that help, and now Lamar doesn't have that help either. And I get the injuries at the beginning of the season. I cannot fathom how they did not take care of the Steelers here. And now they're in a better situation because they're only one game back of Pittsburgh, and I'm not buying that the Steelers are going to have this great run the rest of the way. But the Ravens have a tough schedule for the rest of the season as well. Let's pull it up here just on my phone real quick. Blah, 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 blah. Fantastic podcasting for everyone and live streaming. So let's go here. Let's go find that Ravens team. Why can't I find this game? There we are. Ravens, what are we looking at schedule-wise the rest of the way? I feel like it's difficult. Okay, so next week they are at the Bengals, who looked all right. We'll talk about that game in a second here. They're at the Bengals, then they are home against the Patriots. That's a difficult game. They are, as begrudgingly, I will admit, that's a difficult game. They are at the Packers. That's a really tough game. And then they're at the Steelers to close out the season. So a really important game, obviously, at the end of the year. And for the Steelers, their schedule the rest of the way. Monday night against the Dolphins. Can we... Probably too late to flex that, okay? Either way. Then they are at Lions. That's a tough one. That's a loss. Or that could be a loss. Sorry, at the Browns. I would anticipate Myles Garrett breaks the sack record in that game. And then against the Ravens to close out the year. So there's a couple more should-be wins for this Steelers team. So they could make it so that last game doesn't matter. The Ravens are in a really difficult spot now. And it is a lot to do with how they have kind of constructed the rosters here with these football teams. I missed this one before, Tall John. From watching the stream last night, apparently Kansas City made bad decisions. Can't really comment myself. Yeah, this is I think it's a bigger kind of football discussion. And it's one of the things that frustrates me with where we're at sports talk wise and everything now, like the hot take, first take, toss up, whatever they're called. These conversations need nuance, and too much in, look, every form of life. In some of these talks right now, nuance kind of gets thrown out. You have to be all one way or all the other way. And there are some ways when we're bringing up analytics where that does actually play out. For instance, in baseball, lineup construction, the prevailing theme in lineup construction for analytics is you have your best hitter bat second. And it's not just so that they come up with a big moment in one game. It is so that over the course of 162 games, you are buying your best hitter an extra 80 at bats by him coming back up around that time. Not important for this, but there are some times where in analytics, you do kind of have to pick one side or the other just so that it offsets. And I understand some of it with fourth down math is, well, we're going to get it like 30, 40, 50% of the time. So why not always do that? And then it puts us in better situations mathematically. But I think with this, there is a game feel to it where you need to understand, like, your defense has done a really good job against the Texans, and it doesn't look like Houston's going to get a whole lot, and the game is still tied. This is a time to punt the ball away and just read the room, see how the game is going, and do that. A lot of the other ones, like the going for two when you're down by 14, so that maybe you have a chance to win the game on a touchdown, that's great for really good teams to do. It's kind of dumb for the Giants to do. Right? Because now you're putting yourself, well, you need a 2-point conversion to win, and I'm not willing to bet that they can go 50% on those, right? So you do get some instances where you need to understand the situation of what is happening. I do also get, though, where Kansas City feels like the math is always in their favor, because it has been, right? Like, I can't fathom punting ever when you have Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. Like, there should be some way that you can figure out how to get points out of, or get 5, 6, 18 yards sometimes, right? Like, you have a great play caller, you have a great quarterback, elites at both positions, honestly. You should be able to get a first down. So I can see where Kansas City looked at the situation like, yeah, you know what? Our offense isn't really going. That is an elite caliber defense over there. And I've been saying it all year. That's an elite level defense on the other side. Maybe we just punt the ball away. But I could see, like, when you're weighing the pros and cons, the Chiefs going, okay, yes, that's great. Totally understand that. The other angle of that, though, is we're the fucking Chiefs, man. Like, I'm Andy Reid. That's Patrick Mahomes. Like, this is this generation's best coaching quarterback duo. What are we doing here? Why are we even considering this? So I can understand where the bravado and the ego of it all comes into play there, but I do think there are situations where you have to read it. And this is coming from me, the guy who has said on every football broadcast he's done, my punter would hate me because I would go for it on fourth down so often. But there are some instances anyway where I think you have to kind of read the room and see where things are going for you at that particular time. Tough one for Uncle Crashy in the Twitch chat and the Indianapolis Colts, as it did feel like their season came to a crashing halt on Sunday afternoon as they get whooped on by the Jacksonville Jaguars. Daniel Jones with a broken foot on one leg now tears the Achilles on the other. That news coming out just a little bit ago. I'm pretty sure that was the official ruling that we got. Sorry, I don't want to just throw that there. Yes, okay, here we are. Colts coach Shane Steichen says quarterback Daniel Jones is scheduled for surgery within the week after confirmation of a torn Achilles. He added, backup Riley Leonard is dealing with knee soreness, but will hopefully be available on Sunday. So too bad the trade deadline is done, because this would be perfect time for Joe Flacco to come riding in on his horse and have an opportunity to win this. This is why, side quest, feel like we should have transfers like they do in football. Now, or loans, sorry, like they do in football. Now, you still have transfer windows and stuff like that, so it wouldn't work. But like, if you could just be the Bengals, like, yeah, well, for a 7th round pick, we will loan you Joe Flacco for the last 3 weeks of the season so you can go out and try to win an AFC South championship. But whether it's Riley Leonard or, like, Richardson's done for the year now too, right? Whoever they pluck off of whatever heap to come in and play quarterback for the last few weeks, it's not it's not going to matter. It really is unfortunate. Like, this felt like a dream season for the Colts, and then Daniel Jones, like, you can really start to see where that injury started to hinder and where that injury became a real problem for him and the football team and this offense. So it really is too bad for Indianapolis. Now, the way it sits right now, they are a play. No, they're not. Sorry, they're tied for the last playoff spot. The Texans have leapfrogged them. Yeah, no, they're cooked. They're cooked. Sorry, Crash. I tried to give you help, but yeah, they are absolutely 100% cooked on this one. He messages in the Twitch chat. My Colts went 2 for 2 with torn Achilles injuries. That's my surprise. Yeah, that feels like a pretty big surprise to have your season go down with a quarterback just rupturing an Achilles. Rough go for Achilles and star players in Indianapolis, Indiana. Hey, with Halliburton a bit ago, and then that one. So that's a real bummer to have that happen. It sucks for Daniel Jones because he was probably due for a pretty good payday coming off of this one. And now it's a full season that you lose. And then we have seen with a number of these guys that next season when you come back is just not the same. Like, we are 3 years away from Daniel Jones being able to see what he still has as a football player coming off of the best season of his life up to this point. So it sucks for the human being. And it sucks for the Colts. Like, Jacksonville, not to be lost in this, even with Riley Leonard at quarterback, that's a statement for Jacksonville to go out and do that. To Colts defense was maybe a little overrated at the beginning of the season, given some of the results that they had, but still a good defense. And to go out there and do that against that group is really impressive. So Jacksonville is absolutely a team we should be taking seriously. They have a 1-game lead on the Houston Texans for that last, or for that top spot, in the AFC South. They do not play each other the rest of the way. Jags have a pretty good schedule. They got the Jets this week. That, I feel pretty good about that. Real test on Sunday the 21st when they take on the Denver Broncos. That'll be a late afternoon game. That is at Denver. Then they're at the Colts on the 28th before closing out the season with the Titans. So, like, Colts at this point and Titans, those are wins. At Broncos, that's a real test for Trevor Lawrence and this Jacksonville team going up against the Houston Texans, who have a lot that they are playing for as well. Obviously a game back, and they are looking like a very good football team as well. But yeah, the Indianapolis Colts, a fantastic season, but it kind of all comes crumbling down. And now you wonder, what do they do at quarterback as the season winds down and they head toward the, it's weird to talk about them like this because they are tied for a playoff spot. But, and when I'm saying, well, the Chiefs, I mean, maybe, and Baltimore could. Now, Baltimore's a game out of their division, but I guess so are the Colts, right? So I'm looking at teams that are 2 games behind them in the standings going, well, maybe, but the Colts, done. But that is the reality of the situation when you have a really tough injury like they did at the quarterback spot. Massive comeback for the Buffalo Bills. That is Tall John calling to come into quarterback for the Colts. Yeah, no, that's look, who knows, right? I mean, don't put the phone on Do Not Disturb is all I'm saying, because they're going to be calling anybody to try to come in and get that quarterback job for them. But yes, the Buffalo Bills, a comeback that they needed in the worst possible way. I didn't get like the head start on watching the football throughout the day. I was just kind of otherwise occupied here, and then started watching around second half of those games. And you're looking at the score like, what on earth is happening? And anytime Buffalo would get any kind of momentum, either James Cook would fumble or the Bengals would come back and do something big. But then a just brain fart of a pick six from Joe Burrow trying to shot put a pass over an incoming linebacker who reaches up, grabs it, and takes it the rest of the way and basically seals it for the Buffalo Bills in a snow game. It is a little concerning that the offense needed until the fourth quarter and 2 interceptions for their defense to come away with a victory against what has been the worst defense in the National Football League this season and one of the worst defenses we've seen in a decade. For Buffalo to need that, that's a bit of a problem. I have concerns about that, but a win is a win for them, and they stay within semi-striking distance of the New England Patriots for that top spot in the division. Buffalo 2 games back of New England. They have a game against each other coming up this week. So a huge one for Buffalo to try to get that and try to work their way back into it. But yeah, again, it feels like something is a little off with them. But the difference was where Mahomes wasn't able to make that miraculous play, where Lamar Jackson wasn't able to get that miraculous play. Two things happened for the Bills. A, someone stepped up and made a big play, and then Josh Allen took over, like a 47-yard run to help seal the game away. Is really impressive and really, really quite the thing. But a very, very good comeback, good win. Definitely, like, can't lose that one, obviously. But I still have questions coming out of that win now for the Buffalo Bills. And so it sets up an interesting AFC playoff picture right now where the Broncos and the Patriots are tied at 11-2 at the top of the division. The Jags are in third, leading the AFC South at 9-4, and then the Steelers, the AFC North leaders right now at 7-6. In the wild card, it's the Bills, the Chargers, who play later tonight, and the Houston Texans at 8-5. Just out are the Colts at 8-5, and then the Ravens, Chiefs, and the Dolphins still alive at 6-7. But they need a hope and a prayer to get their way into the postseason. So could be a lot of new blood in the playoffs. And I've said, like, I'm not a believer in the Broncos and the Patriots in terms of getting, like, once you get into the postseason. Patriots against Texans would be the first round matchup. I would be very worried if I was New England, just based on how good that defense can be for the Houston Texans. But a lot of interesting times ahead in the AFC, that is for sure. Didn't really talk about it much, but the NFC had a huge game with the Chicago Bears hanging around, but ultimately losing to the Green Bay Packers. 28-27 ends up being the final score. 28-21 ends up being the final score in that football game. And for the Packers, this is what kind of keeps you hoping with this group, I guess, for lack of a better phrase, because Jordan Love can go out there and be this guy like he was on Sunday and just kind of take over. You've been waiting for this to show up this season for Jordan Love. And again, only 234 yards passing on 17 of 25, but just the way it looked out there. And getting a couple of touchdowns to Christian Watson, 3 touchdowns overall on the day. Josh Jacobs running the ball quite effectively against that Bears defense. This is what tantalizes you about this team when it is going well. You have a quarterback who at least the ceiling is very high and a very talented receiver group around him with a strong running back to kind of get through, and then a defense that can step up and make some very big plays. If Micah Parsons isn't getting held on every play, which he kind of was. But they are a team that feels like they can be complete and feels like this is, as someone who thought they could win the Super Bowl, this is what I was waiting to see out of this football team. And it has been frustrating that you don't see it on a weekly basis, but they were able to step up when they needed to and make this play. And now you look at the rest of the NFC, obviously, like, we still take the Rams very seriously. They made a statement on Sunday. So did the Seahawks. But the Packers have to be right there when talking about the complete teams in the NFL and one of the, at least, favorites in the NFC. As for the Bears, it always kind of felt like winning the division for them was a little bit of a fool's gold mission. But I again, they looked like a playoff team. Like that was... It's funny, in a loss, that was about as good as Caleb Williams has looked. And I've said it before, I am not as big of a Caleb Williams hater as other people are. But I have to say, like, this was about as impressed as I've been with him. Now, they still have to stay sharp because Detroit is right behind them at 8-5. And then you still have the Buccaneers or the Panthers at 7-6, who are a couple of games out as well. So this isn't just, okay, you've done the job, get through. It's a very big 4 weeks for Caleb Williams, for Ben Johnson, and kind of assessing where this team is at. But again, you are seeing the superstar potential that Caleb Williams has. You just now need to see it with a little bit more regularity as we go down the stretch here with the Bears. So we'll have a lot more on the playoff picture in the NFL as the week goes on here. But just to go through the playoff picture again, with obviously one big game tonight with the Philadelphia Eagles taking on the LA Chargers. You have the Rams at 10-3. The Packers are at 9-3-1. So Green Bay, if the Rams get another banana peel, and they could, because of, like, you have the Seahawks in that first wild card spot right behind them as well. So you need both of those teams to lose. But Green Bay, the way they look, they can beat anybody. And getting a couple of games at home is going to be very important for them. If they can get into that 1 seed too, that's very, very dangerous stuff. Third place right now, the Eagles. And then in fourth, it's the Bucks and the Panthers. That was a really disappointing loss for Tampa Bay. Baker missing on a few plays, and then Ibuka, a really bad drop in the end zone, kind of costing them against the New Orleans Saints. I think they had a touchdown called back on a penalty as well, but Tyler Shugg looked pretty good for the Saints. Either way, wildcard teams, the Seahawks right now at 10-3, the 49ers at 9-4, and the Bears also at 9-4, with the Lions hanging around one game back. So the playoff push in the NFC is going to be on, and it is going to be a ton of fun to watch that one. Do want to remind you guys that we are doing this stream live on a few different platforms, but if you are watching it after the fact, then hit that share button and share this with a few of your football talking friends. If you want to talk shit to your Chiefs fan friends, send this video out, or the Bears fans, or whoever you want to talk shit to, or you want to build up your case. If you agree with what we've been talking about, hit that share button and send it out so we can keep that conversation going. Again, love the chats that we get into when we're doing this live. Would like to bring a few more people into it and help continue to build what we're doing here at Couch Potato Diary. So yes, would greatly appreciate if we could do that. And again, while you're there, just move the mouse over to the comment button and let me know if there's anything in here you disagree with on any of the things that we've talked about with the NFL.